No, this child wanna suffer. Laughed as my body she lifted. No, this child will be gifted with love, with patience, and with faith. And she'll make a way. She'll make a way. Yeah, yeah, yeah. She'll make a way. It's not, oh, thank you. It's not time to make a change. Just relax, take it easy. You're still young, that's your fault. There's so much you have to find a girl, settle down. If you want, you can marry. Look at me, I am old, but I am happy. I was once like you are now, and I know that it's not easy to be calm when you found something going on. Time, think a lot, think of everything you've got, for you will still be here tomorrow, but your dreams may not. How can I try to explain? 'Cause when I do, he turns away again. It's always been the same old story. From the moment I could talk, I was ordered to listen. Now there's a way, and I know that I have to go away. I know I have to go. It's not time to make a change. Just sit down, take it slowly. You're still young, that's your fault. There's so much you have to go through. Find a girl, settle down. If you want, you can marry. Look at me, I am old, but I am happy. All the times that I've cried, keeping on the things I knew inside. It's hard, but it's harder to ignore it. If they were right, then I'd agree, but it's them, they know, not me. Now there's a way, and I know that I have to go away. I know I have to go. Happy Father's Day, everybody. Happy Sunday.
Good morning, everybody. We are a very intimate group today. Very sweet. Nice to see you all. Thank you for being here today. And happy Father's Day to all those. So, first of all, are there any great grandfathers here today?
Early.
Yeah, really. Yeah. I mean, in this lifetime. Great grandfather, two great grandfathers. Fabulous. Yeah. How about grandfathers? Of course. Yes. And then regular fathers.
Just regular fathers.
Not just regular, but fathers themselves.
Yeah,
regular. Or irregular fathers, or whatever case fathers.
Artistic fathers.
Artistic fathers, yeah. So, huh? Yeah, you have a father, right? So, I heard it described that fathers are those who do the job, step up, and back those that their own. So they do the job, man. They're there and they do what they need to do. They step up and they protect their own, or they take care of their own. So for you guys, because I know what you both personally, and I know that's exactly what you do. So happy Father's Day to you.
I wanted to say you are the father of this community. So happy Father's Day to you. Yeah. You step up every day.
Okay, there you go. Thank you very much. Yeah. Say happy Father's Day to all of you guys here today. And I think Kurt is in the kitchen doing something special for us today. But in either case, it's nice to have you all here this morning. Here we are in the last week of spring. Can you believe summer starts next week? Although it feels kind of like that, but the wheel is turning. We're just moving into that kind of the fullness of this year. So, how you doing, Laura? You do because we're broadcasting.
We're online. I'm doing great. Thank you. I'm a new grandmother. Woo!
Congratulations.
Didn't think it was going to happen, but the last minute on the clock, my daughter said at 39, it's time.
Congratulations to her.
Yeah.
Fabulous. So happy grandmothering.
Yeah.
So I want to say, Steve, I think we are a little loud, or maybe just we are loud. So maybe we have inside here. And let's see what's going on. So a couple things going on. There's another father walking in. Happy Father's Day, Mike. Good to see you, buddy. A great grandfather. You mean your grandchildren have children? Your grandchildren have children. Fabulous. Wow. You are a patriarch. Okay, so I want to say especially hello to our friends in Oregon who watch every Sunday, and thank you for your patience, because I know that we've had some technical things, but we seem to have worked them out. So hello to you and to anybody else that's watching us today. It's wonderful to have you here. A couple things going on that you should just kind of be aware of. One is there's some new and fun stuff at the gift store, so please check that out. And Paul has a meditation on Wednesday mornings at 12:30. So it's not actually morning; it's an afternoon. Unless you're in Hawaii, then it would be early in the morning, but then you wouldn't be here. So. It's always happy hour. Yes, it's a happy hour. And then Jim has a class going on at 9 o'clock, 9:30, 9, like I said, 9 o'clock on Sunday mornings as well. And that's happening. So, and then here we all are. So there you have it. So why don't we start? The barbecue coming up. Oh yeah, I'm looking right at it. So mark your calendars, August 10th. That is a barbecue. It's going to be a lot of fun. We're going to have good food. Leah's going to do some music.
I'll dance a little bit.
Invite your friends. It'll be kind of a lot of fun. It'll be beautiful outside in the courtyard on an August night in the summer. How nice does it get? So it's just more fun if you're there. So with that, let's do this thing.
Good morning. I'm Reverend Laura DiDonato, your practitioner of the day, and I'd like to welcome anyone that's new and also visiting. Thank you for coming. And I'd like you to look to your neighbors sitting next to you and welcome them with a good morning.
Good morning, guys.
Have fun.
Thank you very much.
And now let's get comfortable and take a deep breath. Be here now in this moment. Divine power, divine love, divine wisdom is the power behind all things in life. Knowing that in life we are all one. That vibration of love, that vibration of knowing and giving and receiving. I know without a doubt that we are vessels of love, and we are vessels of abundance and prosperity, and we accept all that is good. Our highest good is what we welcome. All that does not serve us in the highest way now fades away. We do not need any of that negativity or past pain or anxiety or fear or worry. We let that go. And we start this new season, this new summer, with a new energy of living our highest good, of giving our highest good, and receiving our highest good. I'm so grateful for this morning, welcoming the beautiful music of Lee and Jim, and also the most inspiring messages from Reverend Dr. Guy. And we envelop this divine light around us, and we let the love flow through us, and we let divine wisdom whisper in our ear, and we hear and we listen. And now with love and gratitude, I release these truths into the law of mind. And together we say, and so it is. Now, if I pronounce this wrong, you can correct me. This quote is from Lao Tzu. Be careful what you water your dreams with. Water them with worry and fear, and you will produce weeds that choke the life of your dream. Water them with optimism and solutions, and you will cultivate success. Always be on the outlook or the lookout for ways to nurture your dream. And now, one of my favorite parts, good morning, is to become one in the presence. And with that, your vibration is at the highest point. And so as we relax, putting 2 feet on the ground, we're going to move into a 3-minute contemplation. This is our chance to send love to friends and family, to send love to ourselves, and fill our heart center with that vibration of light and love. And with a deep breath, we move into that 3 minutes of silence. Together we say, and so it is.
So I wanted to play this song from Bob Dylan, who I consider kind of for me, the father of modern day songwriting. And this song, I believe, is just a love song, a relationship song, but I see the energy behind it as a very deep, kind of almost fatherly, kind of that steadfast rock energy that when we see the memes about what fatherhood is, whether you're a father or not, maybe there's an energy you have where there's a love for something, where you have that steadfast rock energy. And I feel like this song really captures it. So, and whether it's yourself, sometimes you're parenting yourself, you've gone through your own journey and you've learned about self-parenting, and maybe you can be this kind of rock for your own self. And I've practiced that myself too. So this is called Make You Feel My Love. When the rain's blowing in your face and the whole world is on your case, I could offer you a warm embrace to make you feel my love. When the evening shadows and the stars appear, there's no one there to dry your tears. I could hold you for 1,000,000 years to make you feel my love. I know you haven't made your mind up yet, but I would never do you wrong. I've known it from the moment that we met. There's no doubt in my mind where you belong. I'd go hungry, I'd go black and blue, I'll go crawling down the avenue. No, there's nothing that I wouldn't do to make you feel my love. Storms keep raging on the rolling sea and on the highways of regret. The winds of change are throwing wild and free. You ain't seen nothing like me yet. I can make you happy, make your dreams come true. Nothing that I wouldn't do. Go to the end of the earth for you to make you feel my love. To make you feel my love. To make you feel my love. Thank you. That's Bob Dylan. Please welcome the father of this community, Reverend Dr. Guy Williams. Thank you.
I have to say, as I'm finding my way here, that just a little taken back when you refer to me as father. And I realize how foreign it is. And my reaction, of course, my usual action when I'm confronted with something that makes me uncomfortable, my first reaction is always to be a smartass. And that's one of my defenses. And then just to kind of sit with the other things, but I realized it is an uncomfortable thing for me, and how quickly I want to invalidate it for me. So I think what I'll just start is, I'll just dive right into the talk, I suppose. I'm just a little flabbergasted with that, and it'll unfold in the talk because I actually am going to talk about just that. But I want to start with Tapas Tuesdays. Tapas Tuesdays is something that happens at one of the wineries out in Temecula, and it's a delightful way to spend a spring or summer evening to go out and have tapas and listen to music and have a glass of wine. And the other day, a couple of us went out there and we were doing that, and we were having a conversation, and the conversation was about families, and it was about growing up, and it was about growing up with families and what that all looks like. And one of the things that I found in the group that I was with is I am in that group, so I guess I was the only native California. The other people in that group were all New Yorkers, and they grew up in New York with their families, and it's a very different experience. It's like, is it like from another country, another planet, whatever the case may be? But there's ways that we do things that are differently. But something that kind of got me on this when we were having this conversation was it reminded me, because I'd shared with them at one point, or they knew at one point, that you probably do as well, that I grew up without a father. My father died when I was 8 years old. And, it's different. So the idea of a father has always been very strange to me. It's like being the outsider looking in, because the other in the neighborhood that I grew up in, there were lots of fathers, and there were men that were kind to me as well. But it was a very different kind of experience. But then in that conversation, interestingly enough, I had this memory. And it was the summer that my father died. I was 8 years old, so that was a long time ago. My mom decided to take us to visit her family in New York. And we went for the summer, and it was a train ride, and it was all very exciting and everything. But one of the things sticks out almost archetypally, powerfully, and that is there's a memory. There's a memory of me watching my grandfather on his porch eating sausage and pepper sandwiches and drinking homegrown or homemade wine with a couple of his buddies, and they're just chortling and chuckling and just having a wonderful time. And their speech flowed from English to Italian to Italian to English and back again and again and again. And it was just this marvelous flow. And that memory stays with me, because what it does for me is it creates this touchstone, this portal that I can step into the imaginal, and I can get a glimpse of part of what my heritage is, part of where my roots are in the earth. And I just went out. I'm on? Okay. And part of my roots into the world, where I fit into this vastness of things. And, I was journaling about this, and for my brothers and myself, that was our first encounter to that part of who we are as family. And so part of my identity, at least that part that I'm aware of, is that, I come from my roots on my mother's side is New York Italian Catholic, or New York Catholic Italian, or however you want to fit those three things, and how that kind of shaped who I am. There's something that James Hillman says, which I think is really salient for the moment. He talks about our experiences, and yeah, my father died, and you know, I was 8 years old. He went to work one day, and he didn't come home, and my life changed forever in ways that I probably can't even imagine. I can look at my neighborhood. I could look at my circle of friends. I could see the people that I grew up in and how their life was different from mine. And I don't make it a judgment as good or bad, because the reality is I wouldn't be who I am without that experience having happened. It really kind of shaped me. And what James Hillman says is, he says, you know, in his book, The Soul's Code, he talks about experiences in our life that when they happen, they're almost like an enzyme, or in the occult world called an arcanum, where what happens is that it activates kind of like where our soul is being guided to become, who we're being called to be. And in a very real way, my life would have been very different had I had a father, the father that I have, had he lived. But who I have become is a direct result of what that is. Does that make sense to you guys? Because here's the thing, we all have them. We all have these seminal moments. Maybe it's a parent who left us. Maybe it's something else. There was a death, you know, whatever the case may be. We all have these kinds of things. We live in a world that has a degree of randomness to it. You know, when I teach, I always talk about this idea that we live in an unfinished universe. Evolution didn't stop. The world continues to evolve. The universe continues to evolve. And because it is unfinished, by its very nature, it is imperfect. It doesn't mean that it isn't good, because I think there's a goodness in it by the very nature of that which creates it. But there's also a randomness. Sometimes stuff just happens. And part of how we navigate through this very interesting, exciting, and sometimes messy thing we call life is to say yes. Tara Brach says this. She says, there is something wonderfully bold and liberating about saying yes to our entire imperfect and messy life. There's something bold and liberating about saying yes to our very messy life. First of all, it puts us in our body. Second of all, it orients us to the here and now, and not into some past that we're regretting. We wish it was something different that it can never be. And it doesn't project us into the future and hoping and wishing and praying that it'll be something else, but it brings us right into this moment, because this is where the juice is. So last week I gave a quote kind of at the end of my talk, and I want to come back to it and just revisit. It was interesting because I actually got some people who contacted me and asked me for a copy of this quote. But it's from Harriet Lerner, from her book, The Dance of Intimacy. And she writes this. She says, in our rapidly changing society, we can count on only two things that will never change. What will never change is the will to change and the fear to change. It's the will to change that motivates us to seek help. It's the fear of change that motivates us to resist the very help we seek. Right? So how many people can kind of relate to that? We know that we want something. We know that we're being called to something. We know that there's an invitation to grow and to seek help, to connect. And yet we're afraid to, and we resist. And we watch the opportunities go by and by and by. So what an interesting predicament. And again, I don't think that I'm the only person who has had this happen to them or knows or even had that experience. I think we all have. But I think it comes from this. I think most of what creates our life is habit. I was thinking that the other day because there was a condition, and maybe you can relate to this. There was a condition that showed up kind of like as I kind of watched this thing building and looking at it and just kind of saying, well, here it is again. Here's the situation right back coming again. And when I realized it was a habit. It was a habit. The thing itself was a manifestation. But beneath that, the consciousness behind that was just a habitual thought. Because we often advocate the life that we're invited to live because we're anchored into a habit of how it's supposed to be. Stephen Pressfield, in his fabulous book, The War of Art, says this. He says, if there is evil in this world, it is resistance. If there's evil in this world, it is resistance. I have taken that thought and gone far with it, and it's a really interesting contemplation just to carry on where resistance is. But part of it is because we are habituated into a habitual way. We are anchored into a habitual way of acting and responding. That's literally in our physical being, as if we have no control over it. And yet, it's something that we put there in the first place. Joe Dispenza, in his book, fabulous book, Breaking the Habit of Being Yourself, talks about it kind of like this. We have an experience, and then we have a thought about that experience. And that thought creates neuropeptides in our body that move into our body, and the thought becomes a story. And then the story is remembered in the very cells of our being. So, something that Thomas Troward, who was one of the early pioneers of New Thought, used to say is, he says, the subjective mind is the builder of the body. But something that Candace Pert says, and so Joe Dispenza says, and more I kind of sit with, is that our entire body is our subjective. Because it is built on the stories we tell ourselves about who we are and what happened and how we find ourselves today. Or just breathing, right? And so the more we tell the story, because we think we're remembering things, but really all we're remembering is a story we tell ourselves about those things. Most of our memories have no relationship to historic facts. They are simply the stories we tell ourselves about what happens. And so we create our whole life built on the habits of the stories that we tell ourselves about the events at the wisdom of the time that these things happen to us. So when I teach the beginning classes in metaphysics, one of the first things that I say is we can kind of think about this and think about situations, because if you're having financial challenges, it could be that it was that little kid who set up a lemonade stand that no one came to, or not enough people came to, and lost their money. And so we run our finances from this kid who runs a lemonade stand. Or we run our idea of what love and romance is from the time we got rejected in middle school. Or we run, whatever is going on in our life based on some story that we told ourselves about a time that at the highest wisdom we had at that moment, it was the only choice we felt we had, and we did that. And now we continue to do that and do that and do that. Is everybody breathing, by the way? Yeah? Can anybody relate to what I'm saying? Because because it is, we are such habitual creatures. Something that William James, and William James was probably one of the fathers of New Thought. He certainly was the father of modern psychology as we understand it today. He writes this, he says, most people live, whether physically, intellectually, or morally, in a very restricted circle of their potential being. They make use of a very small portion of their possible consciousness and of their soul's resources in general, much like a man who, out of his whole bodily organism, should get into a habit of using and moving only his little finger. Great emergencies and crises show us how much greater our vital resources are than we supposed. So sometimes it's the thing, the shock, the emergency, or whatever it is that wakes us up out of this dream of a habit that we've been living and kind of shakes us out of it, right? You've had those experiences where something, you hear these mothers who, lift up a car to save their baby or things that happen. I know for myself, there's this incident that I was at a party when I was in high school. And there may have been drinking and drugs involved. But what I remember is we were in the backyard and there was this large enclosed backyard, big fence. And all of a sudden we saw flashing lights in front of the house. And the next thing I knew, I was on the other side of that fence. I have no idea how I got over there. All of a sudden, there were the cops, and I learned to fly, at least for a moment. But sometimes what it is sometimes something shakes us up and wakes us up out of the habit that we're in of the things that we are. I see our dogs do this all the time. They will get fixated on something, and you can call them and you can do whatever you want to do, and they're completely turned out because they've got this elevator music running in their head about this program that they're in, and they're not even aware. And we do the same thing. Something happens and we respond the exact same way, the exact same way. We do the same thing, and all we're doing is creating more neuropeptides to flood our system, to anchor it into our cells, a memory. We hold it in there, and then it reflects itself in our body and the finances that we are. And I'm getting exhausted just talking about it. but here's the thing, is we can certainly have a crisis come into our life, but we don't want to do that. I mean, nobody wants that kind of drama in their life where they're actually always having to respond or test themselves, because there's other things that we can do. There's other ways to wake up from the imagination. Meditation helps. Quieting the mind helps. Whatever we can do to become aware of being aware of how our dualistic mind is telling a story that makes us crazy, and we can observe it and say, now that I'm aware, I'm at choice as to what I want to do about this. For me, I also think in terms of how we do this in the world. So last week I made a statement, and I want to kind of follow through on it because it's an important one that I want to continue in the conversation that we're in. And that is this: all spiritual paths are political. They are not partisan, they are political. They're partisan on one thing only. And that is, if you look at the great teachers, they are all partisan to one thing: respond with love. So that's the only partisan that I want to talk about. But politic is a bad word in our culture because it's been so bastardized and so corrupted and absconded and everything else that it is. But basically what it means is, this is how we live together. This is how we learn to see, serve, and celebrate the other in our life. Because our life as social creatures is enriched. And more and more and more in the world that we're living in, it is important for us to create that capacity as individuals, as communities. How can we love? How can we do that? What do we give ourselves to? So I've had this thought all week, and that is this. It comes from Kierkegaard, of course, because I know that's exactly where you're going. And Kierkegaard makes this supposition. He asks this question: what is worthy of your finitude? What are you doing in your life today that is worthy of the fact that the body that you are living in this day has a shelf life that will run out eventually? Your life forces. What is worthy of channeling your life forces for you? Chances are, for you is also for the world. Because let me ask another question. If you are living from crisis to crisis, from financial fear to the next financial fear, how is that serving the world? How does living at the effect of whatever obstacle is in your life, how is that benefiting the world? Because maybe the habits that we have instilled are the very things that are holding back the direction or the vision of the world that we're wanting to create. And maybe the greatest thing that we can do for the world is to live the life that we have been called to live. Maybe the greatest thing, the Dalai Lama says this. He says, the purpose of life is to be happy, because when we are happy, it means one less soul is suffering in the world. So the greatest gift that we can give the world is to be happy, because it means that our wonderful planet, that's one less that it's having to take care of. And what I want to offer is this, is maybe there are other things that we can do. Maybe living a generous life, maybe living a prosperous life, maybe living a life filled with love, a life filled with joy. Maybe these are the greatest things that we can give the world. Maybe those are the things that are worthy of our finitude. So I had a crisis of faith this week. It was a minor one. I was able to take care of it pretty much without leaving my desk. But I was reading Thomas Merton, and I'm a big fan of Thomas Merton, as you probably know. Hence, at the very beginning of the talk, I am from New York stock. He was from New York. I was raised Catholic. He was Catholic. He became a monk. I was from Italian. He's not, but 2 out of 3 ain't bad. But anyway, so Merton writes this, and I'm not. I always try to edit it to make what someone wrote in the 1950s sound relevant to someone living here in the 24th year of the 2nd century. And I'm not going to do that. I'm going to read what he wrote. And if you're offended by that, we have practitioners available for prayer. But he says this: man's unhappiness seems to have grown in proportion to his power over the exterior world. And anyone who claims to have a glib explanation of this fact had better take care that he too is not the victim of delusion. Okay, let's unpack this for just a second. So I think what he's saying is one of the reasons we may find ourselves less than happy living in the world is it grows in direct proportion to our experience of the external world and where we sit with this. And if you think you have a quick answer to that, think again, because it's probably deeper. It's probably deeper than just whatever we're going to say, they're that, they're this, we're that, there isn't this, there isn't that. It's way more than that. But then he gives a hint, and this is where I respectfully disagree with him. He says, God made man the ruler of the earth, and all science worthy of the name participates in some way in the wisdom and providence of the Creator. So, Thomas Merton was writing in the 50s. He was a brilliant man. He was a man of his time. He was a man of his culture. He was, culture is downstream from religion oftentimes, and so the wording is there. And what I would respectfully disagree is God did not create humans to be rulers of the planet. That's just bad theology. It's bad interpretation, it's bad translation, it's bad theology, it's been taught badly, it has been used and abused so much. And with all due respect to you, Blessed Thomas Merton, I think if you and I were sitting together having a beer, we may have a place of agreement. Because actually, we are not called to be rulers of anything, particularly the planet. But we are invited to become stewards of the planet. And to respond accordingly. Because the difference of a ruler, a top-down, this is mine by virtue of who I am, I can have it, is what's created the mess in the first place, right? This patriarchal, colonialist way of thinking, to live parasitically on the resources of others, is just what's got us into the mess. But what if instead of looking at it from that way, we're saying, you and I have been given this incredible gift of this beautiful garden, of this wonderful planet with all these other living beings. And all we're asked to do is to take care of it and keep it beautiful and alive. One of the things that my teacher used to say all the time, especially as we were moving into the summer solstice, is this: take care of the living things. Take care of the living things. That's where our attention should be, is on the living things and how we make them better. And for me, when I ask the question, what is worthy of my finitude? It's the living things, particularly the living things that are mine to tend to. My family, my yard, my tree, my plants. Not like mine, I own them, but this is what is mine to do. How can I, in all honesty, how can I say that I want the world to be a better place when I have a huge pile of junk in my backyard that needs to go away? Right? Here I'm wanting all these lofty things for the world. I have to be remembered to water the plants. So how do we make it what is ours to do? Because there's this wonderful saying that Jesus talks about where he says, in one of his parables that he's teaching, he says, you have demonstrated your goodness. I'm not quoting this verbatim. Maybe I'm even making it up. But it makes sense, and I'll say it's Jesus said it. Yeah, it's in the book of Dalmatians. But what he says is you have demonstrated good stewardship in the small things, and I will entrust you with the bigger things. Or something. You could probably tell me afterwards exactly what that was, because I'm probably chopping it up. But it is that. It is how we show good stewardship, first of all, to our own life and our own body and our own affairs. And then we show good stewardship to what is ours to tend to, what is ours to steward, our family, our home. And then we watch it grow, and we watch it grow, and we watch it grow. And so what I would offer then is this thought. is that consider the events in your life that were seminal. And maybe they were a way of the soul's awakening. And consider that that awakening may have gotten stilted somehow or another because we've fallen into a level of amnesia or sleep, having told ourselves a story enough that it has become a habit in our life and in our affairs. And yes, we can get shocked out of that, but maybe there's another way to do it. And that other way to do it is to allow ourselves to settle. In the I Ching, there's a hexagram called, it's number 39, I think it is. It's called obstacles. But basically what it talks about is this. Sometimes the best way to move forward against an obstacle is to step back, to take a tactical retreat and regroup. So maybe we regroup. And in that regrouping, we ask ourselves, what is worthy of my finitude? What is mine to do? And how do the stories that I'm telling myself, how are they benefiting the world? And if they aren't benefiting the world, maybe it's time for a new story. And the story is that you and I have been invited by the very force that has brought all creation into being to co-create, to participate in the evolution and in the awakening of the planet. And it is done through the power of love. And even though I may have been raised without a father, and even though I may tremor of being referred to as a father, what I know is it is the answer to the call that does the job that needs to be done, that shows up when we need to show up, and to take care of those who are ours to take care of. And so, dear fathers and everyone else, happy Father's Day.
Thanks, Rev. Inspired. Thank you. I'm going to sing my song about stewardship. It's a little sing-along, so if you can remember some of these lyrics, it goes, when I say, if you want change, you got to do what you order. You say, chop that wood and carry that water. If you want change, you got to do what you order. Chop that wood and carry that water. Yeah, stewardship. It's not clear, but I'm just like you. I've been over here pointing fingers too. But if you want change, you gotta do what's good. Gotta carry that water, chop that wood. If you want change, you gotta do what you order. Chop that wood, carry that water. If you want change, you gotta do what you order. Chop that wood and carry that water. Everything I do is part of this earth. Step by step I'm gonna add some worth. We can feel afraid but you can't deny it. We feel at ease when we help each other try it. If you want change you gotta do what you order. Chop that wood, carry that water. If you want change you gotta do what you order. Chop that wood and carry that water. Now we're gonna say because we're all together. Because we're all together. It's a true story. Sing, we're all together. No matter where you're coming from. Sing, we're all together. Yeah. Sing, we're all together. We should get together and sing these songs, but it's gonna take more to right these wrongs. I'm gonna know my history, I'm gonna do someone a favor, treat myself better and trust my neighbor. If you want change, you gotta do what you order. Chop that wood and carry that water. If you want change, you gotta do what you order. Chop that wood and carry that water. Yeah. because we're all together. Yeah, we're all together on a Sunday morning. Sing, we're all together. Sing, we're all together. Beautiful, everybody. Sounds so good. Thanks, Jim.
And now that it's that special time to take your hand holding that paper filled with love. And I'd like you to just take a deep breath. What a beautiful, inspiring message this morning. Oh my goodness. Oh. Knowing that we are stewards of this community, this life, it's now that we can watch it grow and grow and grow with our tithing, our time, our talent, our treasure. This community has been so good to us, and it is ours. It is ours and more. We have a chance to reach out through our love on paper to not just this community, but beyond. And now we take that vibration of love and we give it back in the circle of prosperity, and we receive all that is good, all that is love, and all that is kind. And gratefully we release these truths into the law of mind. Together we say, and so it is.
So again, I just want to thank you all for being here today and making this a very special day. I love coming here on Sundays. And I want to thank all those who are in service today for Lee and Jim, for making music for us and making it beautiful, for Steve, for being able to send it out into the ethers and make it wonderful there, and everything else he does, for Laura showing up, for all the practitioners who pray. You know, there's a group of us that get together very weekly and we pray, for all those who contributed to the food, to the greeters, whoever you are, thank you for all the good that you do. And I know that a feast is laid out before us at the end of service, so I will be brief. And there's a prayer circle. Yes. So if your heart has been touched in any way today or any other day of the week, please do not. Here's that thing. You know you need change. You know you need to pray, and then you resist not doing it. And you don't pray, and then you wonder why things don't change. So here's an opportunity to break a habit. So pray. So you can do one of three ways or more. You can come up to any one of the practitioners that are here today. That's Kurt. That's Paul. That's Liz. That's Andrea. That's Terry. That's Laura, that's Kurt in the kitchen. You can go to any one of them and just say, do you have a moment to pray with me? And I guarantee you they're going to say yes. They're going to stop whatever they're doing and they're going to pray, or they're going to have to deal with me. So that's the first thing that you can do. The second thing is you can fill out a prayer request card out there in the narthex where the candles are. And we get together on Friday morning and we pray. And we pray for all the requests that are going on there. And we pray during the week as well, but we absolutely pray together. So that's the other thing that you can do. Or Laura has a prayer circle in about 10 minutes after service in the Emerson room, which is our classroom. You can just go in there and do a prayer circle. It's always a powerful healing thing to do. So it is there for you. There is no fee for any of that. It's what we love to do because it is It is the guiding principle of who we are, is to, as Emerson says, to contemplate the facts of life from the highest point of view. And that's his definition as prayer. So thank you all for being here. Let us pray and end this service by, again, just finding our breath, letting our breath find its way into our body, letting our body find its way into this room, letting this room find its way into the world. How grateful I am for this moment to come together. How grateful I am for the transformative power of love that has agility and novelty and makes all things new. And so may this day be filled with wonder and awe and amazement. May it lead us to see the divine in all creation. May we allow that reverence, that stewardship for life to well in from each of us. And may our very next question be, how may I be of service? And so we let it be, so it is.
All right, I'm going to play the song I wrote for my son when he was 9 months old. And if you could have a little thought for him, because this last week he broke his collarbone. So, yeah, it's a very, very painful situation. And so I'm going to sing the song, Sending Out Love to Kai. I also want to acknowledge my own father, who I have a complicated relationship with, but all this music comes from a certain place, and he was a troubled man who did things he didn't want to do in Vietnam, in the Vietnam War, and so I don't really have a relationship with him, but I know a lot of the peace that I'm seeking, and a lot of the peace I'm seeking for myself and outwardly comes from his message about the things he didn't want to do. So I acknowledge that, and just know that all our stories are so complicated, and you know, he transmuted that into love for me, that I can have a capacity for my son in this song. So listen to the sound of the safe and sound, settle into your bed. Tonight I'm gonna dream of chasing you around just to kiss you on your head. I wish you the best in life, my baby. I wish you the moon and sun. I wish you could see the feeling you give me. I wish this on anyone. I won't forget these days, you won't remember, laughing at the silliest things. You always amaze me, bouncing like crazy every time your papa sings. I wish you the best in life, my baby. I wish you the moon and sun. I wish you could see the feeling you give me. I wish this on anyone. It's not what I was thinking of when I met the one we love, but I could never dream of something as sweet as watching you sleep tonight. You can run a race where the finish line keeps on rolling, rolling away. Or you could step back, it's a lesson that you teach me every day. It's not what I was thinking of when I met the one we love, but I could never dream of something as sweet as watching you sleep tonight. I wish you the best in life, my baby. I wish you the moon and sun. I wish you could see the feeling you give me. I wish this on anyone. I wish you the best in life, my baby. I wish you the moon and sun. I wish you could see the feeling you give me. I wish this on anyone. I wish this on anyone. I wish this on anyone. Listen to the sound of the safe and sound and settle into your bed. Tonight I'm gonna dream of chasing you around just to kiss you on your head. Happy Sunday, happy Father's Day out there. Thanks, man.